Thursday, April 24th, 2025. I'm Vice Chair Bill Humphrey, running the meeting in place of Chair Josh Princeman. Joining us in the room from the committee, we have from Ward 1, Councillor Oliver, from Ward 3, Councillor Malachy, from Ward 6, Councillor Lovovitz, from Ward 8, Councillor Farrell, and joining us online, not from the committee, is Councillor Albright from Ward 2. Thank you, Councillor Albright, for being with us this evening as well. So we're going to start. We have, it looks like 4 reappointments that should be pretty quick to get through. And then we're going to move on to the budget in just a moment. So why don't we start with item 8925. And this is being recorded just for the record, I assume. Okay, 8925, reappointment of Nathan Crusampieri to the Commission on Disability. That's from Ward 2. Anybody have any comments or motions on that? Again, this is just a reappointment.
I'm happy to move him.
All right. Okay. Yes. Councillor Malachy, direct approval. All those in favor, so please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. That was, I guess, what, 5 of us? Yeah. 90-25, reappointment of Stephen Logowitz to the Community Education Commission. I think this is also Ward 2, right? So I don't know if anybody has any comments on that. Happy to have a motion from Councillor Oliver. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Next up, we have 9125, reappointment of Harold W. Adams to the Community Education Commission as well. Any comments on this?
Yes.
Motions?
I'm also happy to move
Councillor
approval.
Oliver moves approval on that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And 92-25, reappointment of William Dietrich to the Biosafety Committee. I believe this is from Ward 8. Any comments on that?
You can join that,
Councillor Mickley from Ward 2 has just joined us. Thank you, Councillor Mickley. Any motions? Councillor Farrell, perhaps? Ward 8. A motion from Ward 8.
So move.
Yeah. Councillor Farrell has moved to approval on 92-25. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And I think that's 6-0 on that one.
And you could count me in as an aye for the previous vote too. I was there for that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and this brings us to our wonderful annual budget process. We're excited to get underway. Before I start that, do any of the department heads have any particular need to get out of here quickly? Or I can just go in the order that's on the sheet. Okay, just making sure in case someone really need to get out. Okay, so the order we're gonna be going in is IT, Historic Newton, Library, Parks, Recreation, and Culture. If the folks from IT want to come up and join us at the table, grab one of the, or either of the empty seats, that'd be good. And then I will just briefly read out the summary of the amount in question for this year so that the committee has that information. And then we'll turn it over for a little presentation. And I haven't asked all of the department heads this year to try to keep the presentations relatively efficient, bring us up to speed on what the big headline changes are, things you're excited about this year, areas of concern. And then we'll turn it over to questions, and I will just ask that committee members also bear in mind that we've got to get through 4 departments. So try to, stay on target with your questions, and if possible, ask a question, then let somebody else ask a question, and then we'll come back to you for more questions. Because in my experience, usually if you have a question, somebody else probably also has the same question. So it's good to pass the baton around. And that way we can hopefully get done in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, so this year for FY26, information technology is proposing a budget of $2,824,894, which represents based on nominal change of 7%. Before I turn it over to Mr. Mulvey, just want to say this is your last with us. Thank you very much for your service. I think I speak for everyone that you've been the height of professionalism and incredibly patient with not only all of us counselors, but all the city staff on a very important issue, keeping us all cyber safe. I know, sometimes that can be a little bit of a headache to deal with, and you've always taken that with an extraordinary amount of grace and helpfulness. And I think that's really, what makes this work, because people feel like they can come to you and ask questions or say, hey, I made a mistake here, I need help with this situation. So thank you so much. We're going to miss you, but I'm sure you're excited to tell us about your, what's happening with the department and your succession plan.
Thank you for the kudos, I appreciate it. Esteemed members of the City Council, before we begin, I'd like to point out that as this meeting is a public discourse, and as we are always concerned with security, we may not feel comfortable answering some questions at this table this evening. Since the strategic restructuring of our information technology department in 2014, forward-thinking initiatives designed to bolster innovation, infrastructure, technology, and telecommunications, our department has diligently cultivated a sterling reputation as a reliable and effective entity that consistently delivers tangible results. From our humble rebranding, the information technology department has served as a central pillar, providing essential infrastructure, resources, and indispensable tools that empower each and every department within our esteemed city to effectively execute their vital functions. We take considerable pride in the strong collaborative relationships we have meticulously established and nurtured with all departments. Notably, even those departments with their own dedicated IT personnel recognize significant value and benefit from the comprehensive support offered by City IT. With unwavering commitment, our team continuously engages with individual staff members, various departments, and diverse teams to develop pragmatic and effective solutions that enhance operational efficiency and ensure timely completion of critical tasks. Beyond the provision of essential desktop support, our department remains steadfastly dedicated to diligent maintenance, responsible oversight, and comprehensive support of vital technological domains. Our successful accomplishments over the past decade are numerous and should not be taken lightly. According to BGC.com, 1/3 of all IT projects fail or far exceed time and financing. Here in Newton, thanks to dedicated, skilled staff, we have nothing but success. These include our fiber optic network, our telephone systems, both voice over IP and mobile, virtual data storage, crucial financial systems, geographic information systems, telecommunications policies, cybersecurity protocols, phishing awareness training, the city's official website, and a range of other important web-based applications. Elections, our involvement in supporting and reporting since 2001 is an absolute benefit to the clerk's office. Furthermore, we provide valuable assistance in smartphone administration for a majority of departments and manage sound and audio-visual solutions for numerous city-specific events. We have also strategically refined our internal Google search capabilities to be more directly focused on Newton-specific information, incorporating practical filters to enhance relevance and streamline access to data from key departments. Our support and oversight have proven to be particularly beneficial in areas such as 311 services, legal case management, and permitting and licensing. We are currently in the advanced stages of developing a new and robust intranet platform utilizing SharePoint, an initiative poised to significantly improve interdepartmental file sharing and collaborative editing processes. Our team operates with a paramount focus on security. We possess specialized expertise in ensuring reliable and secure access to financial systems. We are committed to delivering dependable and responsive support. We design and maintain a modern technology infrastructure that provides high-speed gigabit connectivity to over 60 municipal buildings. Our dedicated staff includes knowledgeable subject matter experts in critical areas such as mapping technologies, cloud computing services, email systems, permanent workflows, 311 operations, web services, and application development. Moreover, our team members often play integral roles in various conventionally non-IT related events, demonstrating their adaptability and commitment to the broader needs of the city. We know what we have at the table for subject matter experts. We are not bashful about bringing in a consultant to solve a challenge, and more importantly, train our staff in understanding these new solutions. We have used consultants to assist us in tweaking our customized search engine, replacing our intranet with SharePoint, and taking advantage of all the opportunities presented by that system. It is important to reiterate, as previously noted in the budget proposal, that a fundamental characteristic of Newton's IT department is the dynamic and varied nature of our daily operations. We value the diversity of the departments we serve, the unique challenges they present, and the positive professional relationships that develop through successful collaboration. Our demonstrated willingness and capability to accommodate the often urgent needs of departments or individual staff members with minimal advance notice is a testament to our flexibility and commitment to service. Our engagement with all city departments is ongoing and proactive. We consistently have new initiatives in development with the majority of them. We take genuine pride in the support we offer to departments that already have their own IT personnel, and we remain readily available and pleased to assist even on short notice. Recognizing the escalating sophistication of cyber threats, cybersecurity will be proactively integrated as a fundamental principle underpinning every technological decision and implementation. Gregory and Saldi will discuss cybersecurity now.
First, I want to thank this committee and the council as a whole for the support you provide to the IT department. For the last several years, we've spent an increasing amount of time focused on cybersecurity. We've reviewed new procedures, products that we can implement to further protect the city's network. I regularly attend virtual meetings with the Department of Homeland Security and affiliated agencies where they share the latest threat information and prevention techniques. 7 months ago, we experienced a brute force attack against a segment of the city's network. At one point in a 3-hour period, our staff measured 4 million attempts to breach our network. Working with consultants and the FBI, 1, we stopped the attack. 2, we verified that no breach occurred. Since that attempt, we increased security protocols and added some products to our network to increase security. The cyber landscape changes daily, and the threats continue to increase. Cyber criminals continue to learn and adapt, and so must we. We have several thousand devices connected to the city's network, from computers to phones to environmental control systems to cameras. Each of those is a pathway. Each of those systems should be inspected on a regular basis to make sure they conform to current security protocols that are always evolving. This year, we requested the creation of a cybersecurity specialist position for the department. Having a dedicated staff position to test security products, monitor our network for vulnerabilities, and work to harden our computer systems against attack is extremely beneficial for the city. Unfortunately, we must be continually evolving and adapt to new threats as they emerge. And this new position greatly improves our capability. Recently, the federal government has cut funding to MS Isaac, the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, and cut funding completely to EI Isaac, the Elections Infrastructure Information Sharing and Analysis Center. Both these nonprofits shared current cyber security information with our department and 1,800 other local governments. They also provided training, products and services at a vast discount. The IT department relied on the information they provided on a weekly basis. With the unfortunate decrease in the information flowing from these agencies, it becomes even more imperative that the city has an employee that can stay focused on the city's security, to dedicate their time to gather information, test our current systems, evaluate software and hardware, and provide training to other personnel for incident response.
Thank you, Gregory. Over the next 5 years, the city's information technology department will strategically evolve its technological landscape by deepening its commitment to cloud-based computing across a wider spectrum of municipal operations. What is cloud computing for Newton? It means significantly less equipment maintained on our premises. It means less capital enhancements to replace systems that approach the end of their reliable life. It means, as part of any cloud computing contract, that the vendor takes the project management role in maintaining these systems, thus allowing us to support other endeavors. This transition will encompass critical functions extending beyond current applications to include core financial systems, scalable data storage solutions, seamless file sharing platforms, and a significant increase in online bandwidth capacity to support growing digital demands. Over the summer, we will be replacing our end-of-life core switches located strategically across the city. At that time, we will also bolster Wi-Fi in all municipal buildings. Looking ahead, we anticipate a significant shift in user authentication methodologies within the broader technology industry. Specifically, we foresee major technology companies developing and releasing advanced replacements for multi-factor authentication. These innovations are expected to converge towards more user-friendly and robust forms of passwordless secure access, potentially leveraging biometric authentication, advanced device attestation, or other cutting-edge techniques. The city will actively monitor these developments and strategically plan for the adoption of such enhanced security protocols as they become viable and widely available, ensuring a secure and efficient digital environment for all stakeholders. AI presents a transformative opportunity for municipal IT to become more efficient, responsive, and intelligent. By strategically adopting and addressing the associated challenges, cities like Newton can leverage AI to enhance the quality of life for their residents and build smarter, more sustainable communities, optimize mobility, improve infrastructure, enhance energy efficiency, and support planning more sustainable and efficient urban environments. We have embraced AI with our chatbot, which is currently on the home pages of Public Works and Health and Human Services. Our Google customized search engine is built on AI at its core. We are pleased with the results, even as we continue to tweak that system. We see opportunities on a grand scale, as in Seattle, for urban development. We see number crunching in new ways to give us answers to challenges. We see traffic management. We see enhanced customer service. AI is here. We can't hide. Our best bet is to embrace it and help enable us all to be better. Finally, we extend a warm welcome to all new department heads, and we are committed to providing the necessary support and resources to facilitate their transition and assist in the implementation of their fresh perspectives and initiatives. In closing, as I read my final budget presentation and prepare to transition from my role, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the esteemed members of the council, both past and present, for your unwavering confidence and steadfast support throughout my tenure. As you are aware, with approval of the City Council, Mayor Fuller will be appointing our exceptionally capable Deputy Director, Gregory Ansaldi, as our next Chief Information Officer. Greg has been a dedicated and invaluable asset to the City of Newton since 1997. Gregory's proven exceptional leadership, profound technical insight, comprehensive understanding of even the most sophisticated challenges, and remarkable unflappability all unequivocally point towards continued success in his career and most importantly, many significant and fulfilling returns for the city and its residents. I am profoundly proud to have had the privilege of working alongside him for 3 remarkable decades, and am supremely confident that you will readily recognize his inherent strengths and extraordinary abilities.
Thank you. Right on time. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we'll go around the counselors first on the committee, then any counselors who might be here who are off the committee. I want to note that we're joined by Counselor and Chair of the committee, Josh Krinsman from Ward 4 online. Anybody in the room or from the committee online before I go to Counselor Albright? Okay, Counselor Farrell.
You'll all be happy to know that I have absolutely no comments tonight because I still prefer number 2 with the eraser. But I can't say enough for the response that I have received from your department. And I called your guys and frequently, I'm surprised the city hasn't done 3/4 of my payroll to support your salary, because I constantly talk to Mr. Insoldi, but thank you so much for being so supportive, and I wish you well.
It's our
I
pleasure.
wish you well also.
Thank you, council.
Counselor Lovovitz?
Did you say one question each? Is that?
My suggestion was that you ask one question first, and then if you have more questions, let other people go, and then we'll come back to you.
I mean, as a person now naive to AI, what exactly you see its role going forward? Can you be a little more specific in terms of scenarios? And that just one more specific question. If residents have a question about anything, traffic, whatever, you see AI as being applicable? Could they submit a question and AI provide an answer given the city information and data and policies and ordinances, and just incorporating all of that into one answer? Is that possible even now?
I believe it is. If you experiment with that chatbot and ask your questions, it's learning all the time. We have reprogrammed it to tell it to focus on information that's less than a year old. One of the beauties of AI is its ability to crunch numbers. You can take sophisticated spreadsheets, put them in there, tell them what you're thinking. It'll tell you why you're right or why you're wrong. It will give you insights that you may never have expected. AI is all around us now. You can't hide, like I said, because so many systems use it today. When you use a Google search, it's all AI.
So, are the answers reviewed by a human being, or how confident are you in the answers now that might be given with questions that people have in the city, work or affairs or problems?
With the chatbot, we review all the questions and answers on a regular basis. If people are asked to tell it whether they thought the chatbot answered correctly or not, we review that as well. And we take what we learn from that and use that to tweak the system to make it better. We feel that 80 to 85% correct rates is very good.
Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, we'll turn now to Counselor Albright, our own IT specialist on the City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first I have to say to you, Joe, thank you, Mr. Mulvey, thank you so much for your service to us. And I have to thank you so much for allowing Rufin to spend so much time in helping to develop the docket tracking system. But obviously we couldn't have done it without her. So thank you for your willingness to be part of this process. So I'm wondering, did you have a chance to read the League of Women Voters sort of analysis they did of transparency in Newton of our IT infrastructure? I don't know did they send it to you?
I am aware of the document. I can't remember off the top of my head the details.
So, okay, well, so first, in relation to that, I noticed that there's no more we only have one programmer in the city, and it's Rufin. And I'm keenly aware of her time being so wrapped up in so many, I mean, I don't know how many departments we have, but she's split between so many departments as well as the mayor's needs for IT. It just feels like we don't have enough IT and development staff. I think you might have agreed with me, but I guess it didn't rise to the top to ask for more staff for programming.
We're focusing more on network administrators with a little bit of skill in development. But we felt that as time goes on, more and more applications are really coming to us as canned, cloud-based, not requiring the level of development that the docking tracking system does.
So in that regard, what I'm most interested in, and I'm pleased that you're doing so much work in cybersecurity, so important, and so much work that you've done already. But who will be the lead person? Who is the person who goes to the departments and says, how can IT enhance the way you do your work in Newton for your own work benefits and for the citizens' benefits? Who is the person that's looking for how information technology can enhance the work of our city? And because I don't see that happening as much as I would like to see it happening.
We schedule formal meetings with all department heads once a year in preparation for the fall release of the capital improvement plan. And we write up a couple of paragraphs about where each department currently stands, future needs, hopes, and we document all that for our purposes as well as theirs.
It may take more than that as we move into the future, because if you're not thinking about IT and how it can help you do your work, you may not be thinking to even say, okay, IT, how can you help me find an application that can do my work more efficiently or more transparently? So I'm hoping that as we move into the future, and Greg, I guess this is aimed at you, how can we be more proactive and say, in health and human services, what are the applications that are being used to help, or in public works, what are the applications that are being used, and offer them choices, offer them openings, so that they can see that IT can be more, that we can be more effective because of IT. So I'm hoping that, I guess this falls to you, Greg, that that as we move into the future, you will reach out more and be more proactive and provide them options and solutions, excuse me, from which to choose from.
Yeah, I think part of that is also reaching out to peers in the local communities and compare notes, so to say.
I think that would be very helpful, because other communities that may have found an application which is a wow factor for their whatever department it might be, if you can bring those options to our departments, I think it would be useful, because they may not be looking for those. With respect to the website, people find it very, very, I know you've worked very hard, Joe, on the website and the search engine from the website, but it's still very hard to find things. Do we think that we have the right website software? Is there perhaps another website software that we could explore to make our city material more transparent to either the staff, both the staff and the citizens?
We can certainly look into it, but my feeling is that the website tries to be so many things to so many different groups of people. And you can't be everything to everybody without having some sacrifices along the way. I mean, we have 24 departments contributing to the website. They all do things a little bit differently. They each have their own priorities. We assist them in getting that information up as quickly as possible and in as efficient a means as possible. But I mean, if you consider the clerk's office, you guys probably publish 150 files a week, every Friday. Planning probably isn't that far behind. You're talking a mountain of data. I think that I mentioned in the budget that there are something like 75,000 PDFs on the website right now. It's just a huge amount of data. Granicus, you know, they're not my favorite vendor, but I think that they're doing a great job. And we do keep the website under control, and I would invite you to try the search again and see what we've done with it, because it is pretty nice. It now has filters, so you can tell it, just show me stuff from the clerk's office, show me stuff from planning. We're looking forward to doing a new police website soon. And there's a button that will filter only police data. So I mean, we've had it for over 10 years, but it's still a work in progress.
Okay, as long as you know that it's a work in progress and we're continuing to work on it, that's a good thing. And the final thing that I'll ask is that in all of the things that you were looking to for the future, they tend to focus on, it feels to me like they tend to focus on infrastructure issues and cybersecurity, certainly important. And Greg, I guess this comes back to you again. I think we need to put more of our effort into finding ways to use technology to enhance the work of our city. And I didn't hear enough, from my perspective, enough influence in the future on that side of the IT work. And I think you do a great job on the infrastructure. You're really paying a lot of attention to cybersecurity. But IT can be so much more for our city. So I hope in the future you'll spend more of your time working with departments on providing opportunities to learn about how IT can help us be a better place. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. COO Jonathan Young wanted to comment on an earlier point.
Just very quickly, Councilor Albright makes an excellent point about IT working with departments. It's a two-way street. In addition to their annual meetings with departments, we have departments going to IT with projects and need for further information, understanding what other communities are doing, what's going on in the private sector. And so it is a two-way street, but Councilor Albright, you're absolutely right. We need to continue to push this forward. I think in terms of priorities, cybersecurity was really the top priority that we had to deal with. I will just let you know that all of our departments asked for, during the budget process, they all asked for a number of things. We're only able to go so far, obviously, because of the budget. And so certainly IT had other positions they would have loved to have had as well. So, but cybersecurity was really the focus. So, but you're right, Councilor Albright, this is the future. We need to continue to have the departments and IT working together to improve lots of different things, everything from operations to analysis and how we can help our residents of our city.
Councilor Malky.
Oh, thanks. So I kind of following up, I'm interested in the website and the search capability. And is it the case now that if you're searching, say, for an address or a term or something like that, is the search engine going into the PDFs as
Yes.
well? It is. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, we'll back that just a slight bit. If a department were to scan a document as an image, then it's probably not going to be OCR'd along the line. If they convert a PDF from a Word document or a PowerPoint, then yes, it is very searchable.
Okay, so is that the way people are scanning things now
We've been pushing for that for over a decade.
Okay.
I might also add that when you go to our search page, like if you go to the home page and type in a search, when you hit enter, it brings you to a full dedicated search page. And there's all sorts of really helpful hints on that page on how to combine terms together.
Or quotes, yeah. So it's acting like the Boolean, whatever. And is the difference between an image scan versus a character scan, is that why if you pull up a agenda, sometimes the Zoom link is not clickable?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, keep on people to fix that. It sounds like, okay, I was on the DPW website today, and that, I guess it's called Isaac, the chatbot. Chatbot
Yeah.
popped up, so I will actually test that. I got some questions about rotating, so I'm gonna test Isaac and then try to figure out answers, and then I'll see what Sean has to say. But Isaac is coincidentally the name of that federal program that's being cut.
We named it Isaac after Isaac Newton.
Oh, okay. I first thought it was Isaac Krazan. Isaac, okay, got it. All right.
And that's why it isn't out.
Right. Okay, great. Okay, I'll
Any other questions from anybody? Do you have further questions, Councilor Malachi?
nothing.
Okay, I think the only other question I had was, it looks like there's an increase in personnel, is that correct? Can you just highlight for us what that is?
So assuming everything goes according to my recommendations, Gregory will become the new chief information officer. And the manager of the network administrators will take Greg's position. One of our most skilled network administrators will become the manager of the network administrators. One of our network administrators is going to become the cybersecurity specialist, because that's what he does all day now anyway. So that frees up 2 network administrative positions and creates the cybersecurity position. We traded off an assistant developer position that he assisted in GIS, but he basically did 311 and permanent stuff for his last 2 projects. But he's no longer with IT. We took that position and turned that into another network administrative position. So we've created a cybersecurity, we've created a new network administrative position. Right, come July 1st, we'll have 3 openings, network administrators.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Again, just to recap, as I said earlier, the proposed dollar amount, $2,824,894. And at this point, it would be in order to have
Motion to hold? Is that
well,
what we're doing?
I was gonna say a straw recommendation, yeah, to the committee of the whole, whether or not we're in favor of this proposed budget. And also, you know, if you have resolutions at any point, those are in order up until we conclude the committee of the whole process. I'm just mentioning that now, this is the first one we're picking up. I get a draw motion, I guess, in support of the department budget proposal.
So moved.
Okay.
I'm not even trying to repeat what you
Yeah. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions. I don't think the Councilor Prince is still on. All right, well, thank you very much. We're gonna move on to Victoria Newton now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Davey.
We have all kinds of stuff. Not so. Have a great night. Thank you.
Well, we have Lisa Davey joining us from Historic Newton, and we just had a great 15-minute presentation and 15-20 minutes of questions from the previous department. Hopefully we can stick to that formula if possible. Excited to hear about what you're excited about this year and what the challenges are this year and so forth. The proposed dollar amount for FY26 for this department is $323,093, representing on paper a 1% increase. Ms. Davey, please take it away.
So Councilor Humphrey, I took your advice to heart to use as brief as possible. So I'm relying very much on what you have in writing, what's submitted to you both for looking back in the previous year and what to look forward to. My favorite part about these meetings, which I look forward to every year, is the Q&A part anyway. So if you have questions tonight, further, you know where to find me. So we'll rely on that. So I've actually just pulled out 3 topics to highlight. But overall, in terms of the budget, it's one of the things that I want to make sure that I mention every year is we are incredibly grateful, those of us who are city employees, for the 3% cost of living increase. Our particular department relies heavily on brain trust of people and their work. We don't do widgets or paving, we do people. And so that's a really important event that happens every year. So that rate is very appreciated. So with the 3 things I'm pulling out, I'm going to start with the bad news and then switch to very good news. I wanted to give you a picture of what's going on the federal level, like my CIO folks did, because it's in the news and you're thinking about what's happening to museums and libraries and other cultural institutions. And I'm pulling this out in part because I can show you what it means on a very micro level to us specifically into this budget. So some of you may be aware that federal agencies like the IMLS, Institute of Museum and Library Services, National Endowment for the Humanities, and others are being altered or shuttered based on executive orders and other sorts of executive orders regarding American history and how it's taught in schools and how museums teach it. So we are looking at this to try to figure out what that means for us in the coming months and the coming year. We're monitoring it, it will affect us. But on the macro level, it actually affects a specific line item in this budget. There's a line item for offsite storage for $3,420. We still have artifacts, the heritage of the city, stored offsite. It's not good for access. It's not good for preservation. And we had a major breakthrough in dealing with this issue that I've been working on for years, because we were pleased to announce last September that we got a major grant from IMLS for almost $135,000 to be spent over 3 years. It allowed us to hire a collections manager on the nonprofit side of Historic Newton and to begin this work. That budget and that line item in the budget would have decreased this year and eventually gone to 0. We would have had all of our artifacts back in the museum where they belong. We got the notification, we were anticipating that something would be happening to IMLS, and we got the notification on April 8th that the grant was terminated. And we're doing what we can to hopefully get refunded for the money that is back to the so that's how it, and we laid off the person that we hired. So that's how it affects the whole. So that's the bad news. The very good news is, befitting the fact that this is the 75th anniversary in 2025 of the year that Jackson Homestead was given to the city to be opened as a public museum, which was donated in 1950. The Jackson Homestead, the city's museum, is going to be transformed by this time next year. Even by the end of this calendar year, we're going to see a number of really big differences. So some of you are aware of the changes to the building that are going to happen inside and out because you voted for, thank you, for Community Preservation Committee's suggestion to authorize funding. And that, again, affects the inside in terms of waterproofing the basement, a new HVAC system, which allows us to be a little bit more green and sustainable, but also importantly allows us to manage temperature and humidity for artifacts and for people. What you're hopefully going to see during the good weather months coming up is the outside work, which thanks to money that was allocated that the mayor's office and public buildings provided, we're going to be able to paint the outside, do shutter repair, a little bit of window repair. The CPA money is going to replace or restore, a combination of both, the porches on the front and the back, gutters, which are going to be fabulous for our water issues. So you get to see that on the outside. And then the other major thing, and I hope to invite you all to the grand opening, we are going to install a major new exhibit on the entire first floor of Jackson Homestead. We, as you may know, if you've been to Jackson Homestead, we have different galleries. We talk about different historical topics, but we feel like we always have to have a spine that tells general Newton history over time. We had that in the basement. It was a very old exhibit, a very narrow set of stories that it told. And so with the basement rehabilitation and we needed to change the basement anyway, and with funding, thankfully, from the mayor, gave us a little bit of, a fair bit of ARPA funds. And now there's a fundraising campaign on the nonprofit side of Historic Newton to match the ARPA funding of $100,000. we are going to be able to have a state-of-the-art exhibit. It's going to have based on current scholarship and history, but also be interactive. And by interactive, I don't mean screens because people don't always come to museum for screens. I mean things that you can engage with auditorially, physically, touch, feel. It's really going to be tremendous, and we're finally going to bring to light stories that have really gone undertold in history. And we're going to be bringing out artifacts that people don't normally get to see. So it's pretty exciting. And that isn't just inviting people to come inside the museum, though we think that is going to mean a greater visitorship, but we're also having a piece of that that can travel around the city to public spaces. So it can meet people where they are. Some of the funding is also going to go to rehabbing our website, our part of the website, because we have so many resources that people access there 24/7, especially when it relates to our archives, our collection, and our educational programs for K through 12. So those are the two big items coming up, and that's where I'm going to end it because that's the exciting part.
Any questions from the counselors in the room, counselors online, Counselor Oliver?
Yeah, just, thank you for that information. It's always, I love the idea of kind of the stories behind the numbers, because the numbers are pretty much what they are from our reach anyway. And one of the questions though, I'm curious, if we're, how would we have heard or seen kind of the change in head count? Because was that person kind of in the,
Oh,
in
yeah.
this?
So I see what you're, this is what's confusing, and I probably should always start with this. So Historic Newton is an IDOC. It's a very integrated public-private partnership. So there's a nonprofit, Newton Historical Society, and then we of course are a city department. And about, if you take, so you think of Historic Newton as the umbrella that encompasses both the city and the nonprofit. And it's the nonprofit is a little bit like often 55 to 60% of the overall budget. It's a little less than 50%. So what you're saying there is just the employees that are employed by the city, and then we have other employees that are nonprofit, many part-timers, but some full-timers. And this is kind of physically expressed in Newton because Newton has two history museums, two cultural institutions that are in old, really old houses. So the Durant Kenrick House is owned by the nonprofit, Jackson Crusaders Management City. So they kind of are symbols of this partnership.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I had.
Counselor
I was
Malekith?
just curious, when we were discussing the basement and the changeover from gas, oil, whatever it was, there was a question about whether you'd be able to have a sort of backup system if the electricity failed.
Yeah, I remember that discussion. So it's currently gas and we'll be going to electricity. I was really heartened by Josh Morse's response to that because he explained that there are backup systems that can be had within the city, so generators and that sort of thing. Yeah, so I made a note to talk to our architect who's managing that whole project, just to kind of ask him about that, to kind of put it in his ear. But I felt really comfortable with Josh's response that there are generators over the city that can be brought to here quickly. And we have an emergency preparedness plan. So I actually need to look and see. I'm sure we've already addressed what happens if electricity goes out, but I can now update it and talk to Josh about specifically what that was.
Yeah, it's about sort of keeping the climate control.
Yeah.
Failing on a really hot day or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Counselor Albright?
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I want to thank you. We've talked so much over the years about taking down the fence on the cemetery on, what is it, Needham Street? And I drove by it today and I just remarked how lovely it looks now that the fence is gone. So I thank you for that.
And on Center Street too.
Is it gone on Center Street as well?
We took it down.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Well, I went to the event we talked at the Durant Kenrick House a few weeks ago. It was a very wonderful event, lots of interactivity, mostly not screens. It was great to have all those reenactors who were all pretty much volunteering their time, right? That was great. And I ended up talking to one of the guys who was going to be going to the Lexington reenactment. And so I did, at his recommendation, went out there at 4 in the morning for the 250th anniversary. It was a wonderful event. And it was just, yeah, it was a great opportunity for us to have that, here in Newton, and kind of integrate with the wider 250th stuff that's going on here in Massachusetts, and a lot to be very proud of in our state, and especially in times like these.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up because we're lucky in Massachusetts. I live in Rhode Island. I want to point out that Rhode Island also did some violent things to resist the British government before the Boston Tea Party, before Lexington and Concord, but just to be historically accurate. But yes, we had dozens of troops walk over to Lexington and Concord, militiamen from Newton as part of that. We had Newtonians who were involved in the Boston Tea Party. So in Massachusetts, since the agitation started so early, we're starting the Revolution 250 celebration this year, and then we get to celebrate again in 2026. So what Councilor Humphrey is talking about is a daytime event, which is very family friendly, a lot of rich history telling from these reenactors. And then we had a nighttime fundraiser, which was also really fun, called 90 Newton at Night. And we're going to do both of those next year because people love it so much. About 250 people to the site. And in my experience, the reenactors who just do it for the love of it and for the pizza that we gave them, they are as accurate and as interesting as those of us who get paid to do history. So
yeah.
It's
And
really exciting.
you could really tell that there was the full range of ages present at that event, and everyone was enjoying it. Everyone was fully engaged. And so we just love to see stuff like that. So, a tough situation with the federal cut that you mentioned, but certainly we're doing a lot of other stuff locally on our own, and with the support of our neighbors and community members. And now is a good time to encourage community members to step up and donate to help cover some of these gaps. So thank you again for your presentation. As a reminder, the amount proposed this year is $323,093. And if anyone wants to make a straw vote in favor, Councilor Labovitz has made a straw vote in favor. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstentions. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Everyone.
Okay, we're not. I guess we're not technically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And that brings us to the library. Yay. Yes, and Director Mercurio had emailed to express that she would love to talk about the library for now, but she recognizes that we unfortunately do have to get through a lot tonight. But as always, we're all welcome to go and talk to her on our own time about the great things that the library is doing, one of our prides and joys in the city. Let me pull up the number here. So the FY26 proposal for the library is $6,806,055, representing an on-paper increase of 4%. And if we can just get an update from you on what's going on that's exciting, some of the challenges, especially with the federal situation. I know we're all anxious to hear about that. I'll also mention that we have in the room and online a bunch of the library trustees joining us as well, which I really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually really excited to be here in person because every other budget meeting I've been to has been virtual. So this is like really special. And yes, we have trustees joining us online in the room, and Michelle Bulio, my assistant directors, on the screen as well. She was incredibly helpful in putting this budget together. So we have a lot of library love. This is an exciting year because the library is celebrating its 150th anniversary of providing public library services in the city. This is a huge milestone, but it also marks something pretty revolutionary, to stay with the theme. Back in the early 19th century, books were really rare and they were very expensive. So the very concept of creating a public library where information was at people's fingertips, we create a whole culture of learning for people who would never have had access to it otherwise. And early Newtonians loved books. They still do today, but they created a public library, community members, and then in 1875, a legislative act passed that library under the control of the city. And the quote was, "For the free use of citizens forever," which is just a remarkable commitment to the community. 150 years ago, the city councilors realized that access to information mattered. And that legacy brings us right up to the current Newton Free Library. We're one of the busiest libraries in the Commonwealth. And it brings us to the budget that's before you to make sure that we can keep the good work up in 2026 fiscal year. One of the best ways to support libraries, aside from funding, is to actually use them. And that is something that residents certainly do in spades. Last year, residents borrowed 1.7 million items. That is everything from traditional paper books to ebooks to museum passes to items from the library section. That also translates to my staff checking out 518 books an hour for every hour that we're open to the public. It's just a crazy, huge volume of materials. We also saw visitation, study room use, and meeting room use go through the roof again this year. So it's really exciting that people actually want to be inside the public library, have community with each other, and use those services and resources. As you said, our budget for fiscal 26 has an increase of 3.72, almost 4%. And that budget will allow us to maintain accreditation with the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. And that's really important because that's what allows Newton residents to borrow from any library in Massachusetts. It also is what allows us to receive state aid, which is a great funding source for extra projects at the library. The majority of our budget goes towards staffing. We have 79 FTEs. That's a mix of full-time and part-time staff, but our benefited staff are all part of the ACME union that just signed their new contract recently. So the bulk of the increases to my budget are really to fulfill those contractual obligations from the contract. There's a modest increase to our general expense lines that cover rising costs for software, equipment, and subscription services. One thing we're really pleased to be able to do this year, this coming year, is to have another professional cleaning of the automated sorter that checks in our materials. On an average day, we check in 1,800 items, but there's some days, like after a long weekend, that machine will pump through 4,000 items just in one day. So we want to keep it healthy. Another important change was more money to our monthly internet services. We added a new dedicated internet Wi-Fi line to the building with faster speed, so the public can get on the web a little bit easier. And then we're really thrilled to have an increase to our collection budget of $40,000 this year. This is the first time that the collection budget has gone up in the last couple of years, and that helps us keep up with rising costs of print materials and digital materials as well. It will also keep us nimble in the event that cuts from the federal government and the state will influence database access. So we currently receive access to Encyclopedia Britannica and Fossil Globe Online through state resources. In terms of our goals for the coming year, we're very much looking forward to a cooler summer inside the library, thanks to the work on our HVAC system. You might have seen our cranes out front on Homer Street as equipment was hoisted up to the roof. They're doing testing on it right now. We think it will be ready to go live in early May, so just around the corner. This past year, we did a lot of focus groups and surveying of the community to inform our new strategic plan. That 5-year plan will be released a little bit later in the spring, but we received a lot of great feedback on enhancements to different services, technology, marketing, even signage around the building. So we're excited to get to work on that. Our new mission statement is on the top of all of the budget materials, so you're getting an early preview of something that will be part of the strategic plan. The one thing that came up again and again in our surveying was just how much our visitors really want to see improvements to our adult areas of the library. So this year we're really focusing on flexible and comfortable seating options for reading and studying and working, particularly in the atrium and also on the back of the second floor where we have a quiet study area. I just got a delivery of 10 end tables today. They're all in my office. They're going to be out the public floor soon, but that's just a little taste of more convenient furniture that's going to be rolling out for the patrons. We have a lot of really beautiful improvements to the adult seating areas on the horizon. Like Historic Newton, we're also concerned about recent executive orders and actions to dismantle the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Our state agency, the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, they receive $3.6 million from the federal government each year, and those funds are, of course, on. So things that we're really concerned about in Newton is that we rely on the state's interlibrary loan platform. We are one of the biggest borrowers of materials across the state, so that's about 1,200 requests that we file every year and get books from every corner and every library to help our readers. The state ebook and audiobook lending program, so if you do ebooks, it's Libby or Overdrive, that is a platform fee that's funded through the state for the Minuteman Consortium. And then again, access to those local databases that we know our patrons use quite frequently. So while the future of those services is a little uncertain, I know the state's deciding their budget just about the same cycle that we are right now, but whatever the outcome is, I think that the message is still really clear. Residents really depend on their libraries. I got a really nice comment card that I want to share with you all. The patrons shared, there's no other place where families can go completely for free and access this combination of education, entertainment, and community. The library is one of the last truly public spaces we have, open to all, judgment-free, and deeply rooted in service. Without it, we lose more than just materials. We lose access, we lose connection, and we lose one of the few places that still exists for public good. It's a really nice one. Our library is very fortunate to be able to provide our services through our city operating budget, donor support, and the Mass Board of Library Commissioners state. We know in times of inflation and economic uncertainty, that's when libraries get really busy. People come to access free resources. They come for job hunting assistance and access to technology. So with the fiscal 26 budget in front of you, we're in a really great place to continue to provide all those important services and keep up the tradition of library service in Newton as we have for the last 150 years. So I'm happy to take any questions that you have about the library or our budget. Thank you so much.
Councilor Lovitz?
So there's been more and more talk about censorship. I wonder what you think about that. How's the library dealing with concerns about that? Generally, what is the sort of policy around censorship or dealing with book selection?
Yeah, great question.
I have one more.
Yeah, so that is a huge issue for libraries today. You hear a lot about different book banning, and it's very serious in many states. Massachusetts is not immune to that. We definitely receive book challenges in our state, and we have at our library too. We honestly probably only get about maybe 4 challenges a year, and I'd like to sometimes think of them as not challenge. At least in our community, they're not challenges so much to the materials. It might be that something is outdated and someone reminds us that this older book needs a new copy. So we're fortunate on that side. But at any time a book is challenged, it's a really good opportunity for a conversation of what was it in the book that you didn't agree with or didn't resonate with you. What can we find that's better suited to what you want to read about? And sometimes the materials we have won't work for every reader. They might be useful for a reader to compare how information is handled by one author versus another, and then you get those critical thinking skills. Why is this newspaper different than that newspaper? In our library, we have a collection development policy, so that guides our librarians on how they purchase items for the collection. They have to go through review sources. There's a lot of publications that share what's in each material and why it might be good for a collection or a larger public library versus a smaller public library or different subject coverage. So we go through a bunch of different criteria, add them to the collection, and then if a book does come up as a challenge and someone asks why we own it, we go back to those review sources and say, this is why it's part of the collection. It won this award. The review process is that we receive a written complaint about an item or a reconsideration form. I'll review it with my selectors, the librarians that buy in that area. We do our homework and then we try to figure out, does this book still make sense for the collection or why we have it, and then do our best to communicate that with the person who raised the concern. We only allow new residents to question the materials in the library. One thing that does happen nationally is that someone from one state will fire off a whole bunch of these complaints about different materials and they don't even reside in the locale where they're questioning it. So we have a pretty strict policy that has worked well for us. So it's something we still keep close eyes on. It's always in the news, but we're feeling like we're in a pretty good spot.
So my other question is, what, if any, policy changes have been made since that incident, the photographic exhibit, in terms of how, how we handle and how selections are made? What changes have been made? If you could share that.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. It took up a lot of our work this year, and it was important to get done correctly. Michelle and I actually worked very closely with the law department and devised a new policy to govern our exhibit spaces and display cases at the main hall. And it's a policy I'm actually really pleased with because it puts the control back in the library's hands of selecting the materials that will be on display and gives us more control and language to handle publicity or promotion or signage rather of the different exhibits. It also gives the authority to us to close an exhibit if it's becoming too disruptive in the public library environment. We had our submissions for artists reinstated. The policy was approved in February, and we just ran our first call for artists. We received over 30 applications. We only got spot for 5. They're fantastic, and I think the public's really good.
So are you on that committee?
Yeah. So it's me and my assistant director, our program coordinator, and another staff member. So it's in-house. So we're keeping a close eye on it because we definitely want to have a good spring ahead of us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Albright?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I was having a problem with my mouse. Ms. Mercurio, I think you said, maybe I didn't hear you right, that the budget increased by 3.72%, but in the budget book, it says something like 2.9%. So I was wondering where it's different.
The 3.72 in ours.
In the budget book?
Yeah.
Maybe you have a special version of the budget book?
I wonder if I'm looking at the right year. I think so, but maybe not. Okay, I'll check that out. My real question had to do with audiobooks. Did you say that the state manages the Libby system?
So they have a platform that allows you to share and borrow materials through any of the library consortiums in the state. So when you're borrowing strictly from Newton, you're borrowing from our collection and also from the Minuteman Library collection. The state platform allows you to borrow from like the Clamps Network or some of the other neighboring consortiums. So you have access to just so many more titles.
I see. So it's the software that the state provides.
You pay for the platform fee to Libby, that allows that to be possible for everyone in the state.
So on many of the very popular books, Louise Penny's series and the Will Trent series and all the murder mysteries that I listen to, it sometimes takes, 3 months or longer even to get access to some of these books. I'm wondering, is that because of how much money we put into the system? Or what is the reason for that?
That's a great question. So a lot of people are surprised to learn that libraries pay so much more for ebooks and e-audiobook materials than you would find in Amazon. We're talking that you might be able to get something from Amazon as a private citizen for $10, where a library would pay $80 and it will expire after a period of time. So we have to be pretty cautious about the number of titles that we purchase, which makes a wait list for these items. But we just can't afford to buy as many copies as we would in print, because we don't own them. They expire after a certain amount of time or borrows. And sometimes publishers also don't release those titles to libraries after a period of time. So it drives up demand in a different way. The hold list builds because the book hasn't been released at the same time for the public as it has for the public library. So I'm sorry you're on hold. One pro user tip is if you do take advantage of the state platform, you might be able to borrow it from a smaller consortium around the state and get a title faster. But if you have titles in mind that you think are really popular and you don't see copies, let us know, because we do make sure that our immediate readers are satisfied as quick as we can.
So are you saying that if you're finding that it's a 6-month wait for a particular book, if a patron says something to you about it, you could do something about that?
Sometimes if we have mechanisms in place that will look at how many holds are in an item, and that will trigger us to purchase some. Sometimes that builds up really fast, and you might notice it before we run the report to catch it. So if there's something you're really excited to read, let us know, and we'll see if we can recommend a best way to get it, or we'll add it to our collection.
Okay. Well, I'm not worried about, I'm not worried about just me. I'm certainly thinking about the whole city of Newton.
Yeah. So when we buy something, Newton residents get to read it first. So that's a really a compelling reason why we still need to keep this resource up and going for our own community.
Has that been pretty much level funded over the years? The amount of money we put into that?
Our collection budget hasn't grown very much in the last couple of years. We have a good amount that will be added this year. We always look at the ratio between print and digital. Because we own the print, we're going to be a little bit more print heavy, but the digital is still so much a part of readers' preferences today. So we have to be part of that conversation too.
Okay. It might be worth putting something on your website about, if you let us know that it's a 6-month wait for a particular book, we can do something about it somewhere to let people know that.
We can. Other times we might just get inundated, but it's always a good conversation to have, because people are surprised that the cost of these things are so different.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Send me your reading list. We'll see what we can do.
The library is a great resource, and I think everybody loves it.
Councilor Malachi?
This might be related to Councilor Albright's question. You talked about minimizing wait times by bolstering our speed read collection.
Yeah, our speed reads are the popular bestsellers that are right in the atrium when you walk in. So they're on the right-hand side when you go in to the building. They can't be placed on hold. So you have to be a lucky person that grabs it off the shelf to be able to go home with that. We do own copies that circulate and people can request, but that's just a way to sort of skip the line a little bit and find something you're really excited to read. Hasn't made it yet to your neighbor's.
Do they have a shorter amount of time people can check on?
It goes out for 2 weeks at a time, so it is shorter. Hopefully people will read it
3 weeks.
Great. Thank you.
Councilor Lopez again?
So not directly related to the budget, but concern about this differential between Amazon, you said, and you or other libraries. how do you explain that? Amazon's market power, ability to negotiate, so, but you in collaboration with others have a huge amount of market presence as well. Is there a group that negotiates on behalf of libraries like ours to get that price down?
So there is,
The difference is so huge, that's why I'm
it is,
asking this question.
it's a good question. It's really, it's disgusting, really. Amazon is a publisher, so that's how they can control what they sell their product as, and how nice they want to play with libraries. There is legislation in the state level right now to put stricter controls on how publishers, can gouge libraries to pay for materials. It's a lot of working with the Attorney General, trying to make sure that there's good support to ensure that there's a free marketplace for these materials. It was Representative Balls that actually put it forward originally. A lot of other folks are working on it still. That has been successful in some states, and we're trying to take language from what we see happen in other areas of the country and bring it home to Massachusetts. So we're hopeful.
Anybody else? All right, again, the proposed amount is $6,806,055. Does anyone want to make a motion? Strong motion. All right, strong motion from Councilor Maliki. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll be hearing from Parks and Rec. Let me just get myself another agenda. And read out the now for that. Okay, the proposed amount this year, $9,712,550 for Parks, Rec, and Culture. And let's see, we see both Commissioner Banks and Deputy Commissioner Mark Welch. So I've given them, since they're a larger department with more moving parts and we usually get a lot of questions, I've given them some extra time. But hopefully they'll be able to get through everyone's questions in a prompt way. So, all right, thank you, Commissioner Banks, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. I'm Nicole Banks, Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, and I'm joined tonight by our Deputy Commissioner and City Forester, Mark Welch. And I just want to say thank you as well. It's been nice to watch these presentations and see our departments there in the room with you. I thank you for allowing me to be remote tonight. I'm out of the state for the second half of this week. We of course had the marathon on Monday, and that was a huge day in the city, and our team was helping with the setup and cleanup for that. But happy to be here this evening. We do have a presentation to show. I love showing the photos of everything that our team has been working on. So I'll ask Mark if he's able to share his screen, can put the presentation up for us, and then at the end we will close that down so we can all see each other again.
And you see it?
Yes.
Thank you. And so you can go full screen for us.
That is about, it's a PDF. So this I think is about as wide as I can get it.
All right.
Make it a little wider, I guess.
All right.
That looks good, Mark. I think that might have put it up to presentation mode. Okay, and we'll move one more slide from the title slide. Thank you. All right, so our budget summary is right out of the city budget book, so no need to memorize any numbers here, but I did want to give a few highlights for our FY26 budget. I wanted to, we're pretty excited. We are nearly fully staffed. We are still hiring for one position in the forestry division, and we have one new recreation manager position being added in this coming fiscal year. You'll see it in this budget, and detail. And this position is going to be assisting us with some of the new facilities that are coming online, in particular running evening and weekend programming for all ages at the Cooper Center. Beyond that staff position, the main budget drivers are increasing mowing and leaf collection contractor costs, additional funds for our aquatics operation. Pool chemicals have increased greatly in the pricing over the last several years. We're of course now maintaining the 2 beautiful pools at Gath, as well as 2 splash parks, which will be online by this summer. Another note, while it's not showing in our budget, I did want to highlight, and we're really excited that Public Buildings has a new floater custodial position. I've been working very closely with Commissioner Morse, and we have advocated for this position to be partially assisting us to have more frequent cleanings of our community center spaces. So you'll certainly see that highlighted in his budget when you get to that. Mark, next slide, please. This is our org chart, very similar to last year. And we are going to go through each of our divisions and the great work that they do. But before I leave this slide, I did want to just highlight our admin support. You see them at the very top, supporting our entire office operation. They really keep everything running smoothly in our office, everything from answering resident inquiries, making sure those phone calls always get answered, paying our bills, and hosting our public meetings and community meetings, of which we have many. So really appreciate the work that they do. We're going to go through our divisions starting at the right-hand side of this org chart. And so forestry will be up first, and I'm going to pass it over to Mark.
All right, hello everyone. We're going to just a real quick overview of forestry. I'm always happy to answer questions and always happy to receive feedback at any time, whether that's tonight or another time. But just a quick overview. You've probably seen these numbers before. We have about 22,500 street trees, give or take a few hundred. Currently, forestry, once we're fully staffed, which we're almost there, we have 12 full-time employees in some capacity within the forestry division. That does not include me. And what you'll notice later on, I always want to point this, I'd like to point this one out as well. Commissioner Banks will have a slide where we'll talk about the parks and rec, the recreation fields, the amount of acres that we maintain. Forestry has many more acres that we're responsible for that does not fall within the Parks and Recreation Department's care and maintenance. There's city land everywhere in the city that doesn't all fall within the Parks and Rec auspice of care and maintenance, but the trees do. So for last fiscal year, our big change, a huge change for us, was to add 3 more tree care maintenance positions, 3 people in the field doing tree work, caring for what we have. For us, that was, we accomplished that by reducing the contracted budget funds that we had and moving them over to an in-house operation. Something we've done at least 2 other times in the past with great success. We're building on that, building on the success of some other departments, such as the yard waste collection folks at DPW. We found that we've just been able to provide a better product when we do it ourselves. That doesn't mean we don't rely on contract work at certain times or for certain tasks, but it does allow us to be more flexible and a little better, closer oversight on what we do. So for this, since last year, we've been able to fill most of the positions, but some of those positions, we actually had a vacancy at the time as well. So we've been working on hiring 4 people. As of last week, we had filled 3 of those 4 vacancies. So we weren't quite able to hit all of our, my desired benchmarks for our full staffing, but we were able to increase our work by about 20%. And our hope is that we'll reach a overall 40% goal by the end of FY26. We again have 1 spot left to fill. I'm hoping we'll have that filled here within the next month or 2. And then the other piece for us is we're 1 year in, or just a little bit more than 1 year into the change to the tree preservation ordinance, and just adapting to the added administrative workload that has carried, and just learning how to, as people get used to it, and how we get learn to better share information with people and manage it. From a numbers perspective, I show these numbers. Some of these numbers are static. They could vary, like the very bottom one, down limbs and trees. Most of that's limbs. I can't predict that. That's a function of weather. But generally each year, about 1,400 things fall and we need to pick them up. So I expect the next year to be the same. But the things I'd like to highlight is the very top. You'll notice that over the, at one point, I was saying we averaged 620 trees lost a year, street trees mainly is what I'm talking about. That number's gone down into this year to 580. And I expect that number to continue to drop. It's not because we can't remove them, it's because we're losing less trees. That's a good thing. It means we're catching up with the long overdue maintenance in some cases, and that our proactive approach over the last 10 to 12 years has worked. If I showed you this chart from 12 years ago, that number for removals in a year would be 1,200. So it's dramatically dropped. And the things that go with that are stumps. So that number kind of goes along with tree removal work. But the two areas that our goal for last fiscal year going into this one was to add the staff so that we could do a better job at pruning trees proactively. And our mature trees pruned has not quite doubled. It went up by about 400 trees completed. And we're going to continue that into the next year once we're fully staffed for the full year. Another key thing is taking care of the young trees we plant. Up until about 10 years ago, the city didn't have a proactive planting program. And now that we regularly plant trees, we need to regularly take care of them. And that's what our staff is doing. So you'll see that our numbers are going up. And that's what we plan to do. And that's really what the point of bringing on additional staff last year is. Overall, depending on which metric you use, it can be more or less, but it's about 5 times as more expensive to hire a contractor to do the work that we're doing with our staff. So it's a significant difference that's really been quite impactful. I will now turn this back over to you, Commissioner Banks.
Thank you, Mark. Our next division is our grounds maintenance division. This is led by Derek Mannion, our superintendent of grounds maintenance, as well as Rob McClary and Bob Billings. Our grounds maintenance team has lots to oversee and maintain. Just looking at these few pictures of some of their areas of expertise, you'll see in the center with the orange truck, our team is out scarifying one of our many ball fields. We do in-house athletic maintenance, such as this, as well as taking care of many irrigation systems throughout the city. A lot of those that are incorporated in our athletic fields. And I also want to highlight that we do have those contracts, the mowing that we do on our athletic fields, as well as all of the grass throughout the city. Those costs have been increasing and straining our budget. I will do a throwback to Mayor Fuller's budget speech from 2 nights ago, where she called for efficiency. And I just want to highlight the work that our team does on the fields to make sure that we are only mowing what is actually needed. So they are out walking our fields every single day, checking on the weather conditions, the condition of the grass turf, and making those decisions to try to keep our budgets able to do everything that we need to do throughout the city. Another area that they're working with is our courts. You'll see on the right-hand side of the slide a basketball court at Highlands that we recently resurfaced. We've resurfaced over half of our courts over the past 4 years. The primary revenue source for the court refurbishments has been through revenues from our tennis program being reinvested back into the courts. We've also been before City Council for some free cash requests and other funds, specifically at the high schools where we have 10 and 12 tennis courts. In those banks of courts, those were higher level cost projects for us. Another area is the trash. Not everyone's aware that our team empties all of the public trash containers, so not the household trash, but the big bellies and the totes you see throughout the city, repairing those containers, keeping them clean, and removing trash. We actually have had the last 3 years, we've had a vehicle taking out some of our big belly units, so they are constantly looking to replace and maintain those units Our beautification team, we have 2 of the trash trucks you see here, the Packer trucks. And our beautification team also has staff that are out in the parks within our village centers, and they are picking up litter on a constant rotation to keep the city beautiful and looking clean. Another area that you don't see on the slide, but our team works with, is our community centers and buildings. We of course work alongside public buildings to keep the facilities operating smoothly. Investments in the Bathhouse, Albemarle Fieldhouse, Pellegrini Fieldhouse, and many more have been occurring recently. Fencing, I'll just highlight that PRC does all of the city property fencing, removals, repairs, and installations. Of course, our aquatic centers, I want to highlight those because in 2 years, we went from having no splash parks to soon having 2. Our maintenance and aquatic staff will be managing those systems. They are complex and take a lot of work and getting familiar with those systems. And also playgrounds. You see in the center here, one of our many playgrounds. Our division here has been focused on improving our many playgrounds. We've been working with PTOs and community partners. Our focus over the last several years has been on safety and maintenance. And they also work closely with our Parks and Open Space team to design and install new play structures or replacement play structures. And next slide, please, Mark. I won't go through all of this, but I think it just gives some of the detail. Again, Mark mentioned how many acres of land is being cared for our street trees. Here you just see a little bit of, by the numbers, what we have for facilities, amenities, and parks, and the scope of what this division does. Next slide, please. All right, our next division that I'll highlight is our Parks and Open Space team. This is led by Luis Perez de Marisi and Aaron Lehrman. You'll have seen them at many community meetings if you have tuned into some of our projects that have been in your neighborhoods. First item that they work a lot on is our capital projects. Those projects include design, community input, procurement, and construction management. So this team takes them through the whole process from really conception and design all the way through to them being built. This team also works with a lot of our community partners. We have many friends groups. We have an Adopt a Space program. So if there are residents interested in signing up to help out with a particular open space or an amenity like a garden, we're able to partner with them in that way. This group runs a bench memorial program. So you'll see the benches throughout our city with a nice plaque in memory of many different things that people want to have there for longevity. And we also work with the Eagle Scouts. So many Scout projects that help us. The next slide, please. So within our Parks and Open Space, our operating budget that we're presenting tonight does account for the 2 staff in this division, Luis and Aaron. They're doing amazing things every day, but in order to get these larger projects done, we really depend on our partners and alternate funding sources. This just gives you a nice list. I'm sure I haven't remembered everything, but just some of the ways that we have pulled together working with our Community Preservation Committee, friends groups, which I mentioned before. PTOs are very active and involved and doing great work. Grants and state earmarks that our representatives work very hard to partner with us on. Our sport partners. We just had the Little League come forward with a donation toward the Murphy Lights at Albemarle. Local businesses, some funding from our operating budget, other city funds, developer mitigation is often available, and ARPA, which is sunsetting. So we have our last of our ARPA projects really under construction right now. And these are just really important for us to be able to rely on these different funding sources. Next slide, please. So just to give you a couple of examples, wanted to pull a case study of a playground, sort of a smaller scale project that we worked on this year, but a highly important project. Here, I'll just highlight and want to demonstrate the many funding sources that supported this work. So we did have a MOD grant, which is a state grant, Massachusetts Office of Disability. Jeannie Fairley, our disability coordinator, applied for and was successful in getting this funding. We had a COD grant, so our local Commission on Disability, free cash appropriation that NPS, the public schools had, and PRC budget funds all going into making this project a success. And of course, all of those came through the City Council for your approval and support of this project. A really impactful project. I say smaller scale, but new swings, an accessible swing, and accessible table, pathways, other improvements to the outdoor space and playground area. Next slide, please. This case study at Albemarle, and yes, those pictures are Albemarle. You'd be forgiven if you thought that this looked like another in-ground pool going in, but this is actually some construction photos just a few weeks ago at Albemarle shows where some of the stormwater retention systems, the stormwater management systems will be going in underneath the athletic fields. This case study, although it did have many funding sources, here I wanted to highlight the partners that we often see. And this was a much larger scale project, but this is very often the case that we have so many in the community who are championing these projects and helping us get them through. So here, just to name a few, and again, I'm sure I didn't get everybody, but our Parks and Rec Commission, Department of Public Works, Engineering, working together with them on the stormwater management piece, Community Preservation Committee, Conservation Commission, Newton Public Schools, youth sports groups, Charles River Watershed Association, and Friends of Albemarle and our neighborhoods. They all showed up. They were at our community meetings, so many input sessions to make sure that we got this project right, and really just appreciate and depend on these partnerships to be successful with these projects.
Commissioners, Jonathan, I'll just add in a large state grant that we helped get through Charles River Watershed Association, as well as significant ARPA funding too. So lots of
I think Albemarle might have also had some state funding as well. So it was hard to make sure I listed everything. But such a good example of how those partnerships and the funding really help us get these projects through. All right, next slide, please. Okay, getting to our next division, recreation and community programs. This team is the engine of our community centers, our camps, our aquatics. Our Athletes Unlimited program is among the most important things that the city does. We do have some new facilities that are coming online, such as the community performance stage at the Lincoln Elliott and the Cooper Center for Active Living. And I just want to recognize the hard work that our team has been putting in for months now to plan and get ready for these openings of these new facilities, so that we'll be ready to welcome the public and have fun and attractive programming from day one. So a lot going on with recreation and community programs. Next slide, please. Our next division is cultural development. Cultural development, as you can see in the pictures here, has many of our beloved activities in the city, events, cultural enhancements, partnerships. They partner with Newton Community Pride. You'll see the Celebrate Newton banner in the lower left corner. So public art initiatives that bring in some of those great partners. They're always facilitating community. I mentioned the Lincoln Elliott Theater as a new space. They will be looking to program as well as support performances in this 500-seat performance community stage. They are set up right now in the Crystal Lake Bathhouse with some public artists who are very busy decorating the pianos, decorating some of our mural boards that you'll see out throughout the parks. As soon as spring is in full swing, we'll be putting those out in the parks as public art initiatives. Many other activities that connect our community with artists, inspire people to engage in the arts. So you can see just a few of those examples. In the bottom right, you'll see one of our special events and our holiday events. This team also hosts these large events that truly bring our community together. Family Fun Fest is just around the corner. July 4th will be right behind it, and the hugely popular Harvest Fair. A huge thank you to Paula Gannon and Archana Menon, who are leading this division. Next slide. All right, again, some really great photos here of what is coming soon. In the top left, you'll see the performance stage at Lincoln Elliott. Afternoons, evenings, weekends, we expect some performances. We also expect to have some theater programming and other fun initiatives happening there. We are partnering with Older Adult Services. The next picture on the top right is a photo of the gym at the Cooper Center for Active Living with the walking track. Looking forward to the programming opportunities there. Opening a new splash park. Many of you were there with the shovels for our groundbreaking, and we are expecting that to open in the next month, right around Memorial Day. Our Gath Pool Splash Park that we opened last summer will be opening right after Memorial Day. On the bottom section, you see many of our athletic field projects that are underway. On the bottom right, we have the Burr Elementary Fields, which are currently under construction, the McGrath project. This is another project at McGrath. This one is on the bottom left, and this project is another one that includes a substantial stormwater mitigation system. So really excited to collaborate with DPW on that. We did have some additional permitting to get ready for that before McGrath will go under construction. And in the bottom center, you will see the Albemarle Athletic Field project. We'll be bringing the turf field online in time for the school and the youth group fall season. So that turf field with lights will be ready for this coming fall season. Once that is online, we do anticipate being ready to have the McGrath fields go under construction. Those are being highly utilized by the school department right now, while some other areas have been being worked on. Again, happy with some of the partnerships. I mentioned DPW. Conservation has also been very involved. Many of our park spaces have waterways and wetlands very close by. So that's been a great partnership, working with them on the permitting and making sure that we have protections for all of the things within our parks. And I'll just stay on this slide for a minute. Even though these photos I'm highlighting sort of what's coming up right now, just wanted to look forward a little bit further out. We will be beginning our Braceland design work. So another one of our parks in Upper Falls going under a design, of course, community meetings, input for that. We'll also be having our Crystal Lake Park and Beach meetings, which will start being held in early summer. And we're excited to be able to focus our attention on multiple playground improvement projects. We are working on a CPA proposal, and I know that there's been a lot of interest from our city councilors, from the school department, as well as many of our residents in our many playgrounds and how we plan to improve those, provide some new play elements. And that work will require some alternate funding sources as well. Next slide. Okay, well, that brings us to the end. So to wrap up the presentation this evening, I just want to talk about a reoccurring theme that I touched on. It really is the amazing support from all the groups, our commissions, our other departments. Really, virtually, I think every department interacts with us on many of these initiatives that we showcased tonight. The mayor's office, and of course, you, our city council. So much of our work requires outside funding, and making changes to our community resources, such as our parks, can't be done without real engagement. And so working with our neighbors and your constituents has been very, very important to us. Looking at all the improvements that we've done, the ones that are in the works and the ones that are on the horizon, it truly does take a village. And I think in the case of Newton, it takes 13 villages. It's just want to thank everybody for continued support, coming to our meetings, sharing your thoughts, and facilitating those connections and advocating for your priorities. It really does make a difference in what we do. So thank you. And Mark and I are here for questions.
All right, well, thank you very much. Another comprehensive presentation and came in under the recommended time, so I appreciate that.
Okay, timed it a few times.
Oh, I was just getting so concerned that Councilor Baker wasn't going to make it in time to ask about his favorite department in the whole city, but here he is, making his way from 7 onto our Zoom screens right now. And so that's good, because I know he's going to have questions. Anybody in the room? Councilor Maliki.
Do you have data on what's happened with the gas pool and Crystal Lake pass purchases or admission, single use admissions versus before we had the new pool?
Our memberships for the pool
and the lake.
And the lake, we can pull those comparisons. We do have all of that data. One thing I'll highlight is we did make a change this year. Our aquatics program has always been considered one program where you would buy a membership summer pass and you would have access to both facilities. This year, we did provide an option where you could purchase just a membership for the Gath pool or just a membership for the lake. But we did also have a combo option where for just a little bit more, you could purchase a pass that included both facilities. So we do have all of that data on our membership sales as well as our day passes. We do a lot of day pass sales at both of the facilities, and in particular at Crystal Lake, we see a lot of day pass use. So that's something we can pull for you. Mark, is that best to get back with those numbers? I don't know. You probably don't have that right in front of you tonight.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but we certainly have it. Sean, our aquatics director, has that, and we've reviewed it, so we definitely have it.
Yeah, I've been curious what effect the higher fees versus the better facility at Gath, what effect that had.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that when we're again happy to get the data out. When we looked at the data, also have to take into account a little bit that there was the city, we were projecting our opening date. We knew it was going to happen, but I think we saw some of our past sales. They didn't start to come to fruition until once we opened, where historically our past sales would start in May. It was a little closer to July when we started to see the uptick, but we had great numbers. Actually, we had great participation in both. I think probably the most we've ever had. So
right.
I would good news all around them.
Better note, because people will know there'll be a full year versus the uncertainty last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll have another question.
Sure. Councilor Baker, I'll go to you next.
Thank you, colleagues. I'm traveling and have had about a half an hour of difficulty even getting on the site, so I don't know how long this will last. So I appreciate your accommodation. Commissioner, I appreciate the work the department's doing, and I want to just commend Mr. Welsh for the work he did in getting the shrubbery cleared out up at the Waldman Hill Reservoir. That was an important positive step. So when something positive happens, I like to acknowledge it. This is not formally part of your budget, but I just want to reference that I'm concerned that we don't have enough residents who are members of the board of the Newton Commonwealth Foundation, in order to try and make sure that we follow the pattern that had been set down in the past. So I'm not sure where that stands, but we can talk offline, but I just want to mention it now because I think it's an important asset for the city that isn't part of your budget formally, but is certainly aided by the work that your department has been able to do. So those are the two things I just wanted to raise as I could at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, if anybody is interested in the golf, our Commonwealth Golf Foundation oversees the contract for operations of the golf course. They're working on a maintenance building right now, some improvements there. They've just done some restoration to some of the areas of the course. So really something that would be great to have a volunteer who might have interest give back. And anybody who's interested could reach out to us at the parks@newtonma.gov email. And we'll point you in the right direction for filling out an application for volunteer service on one of our committees.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just wanted to ask about, I think we're going to be talking about this probably in the near, I don't know when, but the tree ordinance. I know there was concerns raised earlier on when it was first passed. What activity are you seeing now in terms of compliance, complaints, that type of thing? Can you comment on that?
Yeah. So yeah, I have some numbers. I mean, so as far as compliance from a builder developer perspective, I can only judge that by the number of permits we issue and compare it to the past, and they are right in line with that. We do about 200 or since its inception, because it's a little more than a year now, we've done about 290 tree permits that can be associated to construction. The majority of those don't involve tree removal, but they do have to go through the permitting process. Prior to the change in the ordinance, it was about the same. So it feels as though the vast majority are in compliance and are doing it. And because, just as a side note, you can't get past your building permit generally unless you have a tree permit. They won't issue your building permit. So that's how we capture it, and we've captured them for a long while. So I guess that leaves the big question is, what about all the folks that need to remove, that choose to remove trees that are what we would call exempt trees? And that was brand new. We didn't permit that before. So in the last, since, we'll call it 13 months, we have done 450 exempt tree removal permits. So that's 450 locations or 450 instances where people chose to follow the rules. I believe that captures most of the tree removal activity in the city. We did a little bit of unscientific research ahead of the ordinance and felt as though we had an idea what number of tree removals there were in a year, and this actually exceeds it. So I think we're right where we expect. Do we get complaints? Do we have people not following the rules? Yeah, absolutely. But that number is between, I think in the last 13 months, between 10 and 15 instances where people have reported tree removal to us that they didn't have a permit. Now, in all those instances, those were what we would call exempt tree instances. What we're finding 1 year into it is that the tree companies that regularly do business here, the builders who regularly do business here, are getting used to the new permitting process, which is online, and the new documentation. It's not to say that it isn't without its bumps in the road, but it has definitely been going fairly well as far as what we've been doing. Volume wise, operationally wise, it's a giant amount of staff time, and which is what we expected.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. And Commissioner and your staff, I too would like to compliment you on the work that you are doing around the city. It's an extraordinary amount of work, and most of which I think is done very well. In specific, I would also like to thank Mark Welch for his response many times when I've called about getting limbs removed from streets and sidewalks. He's been incredibly responsive in doing that. I do have one general and two specific issues. One is maintenance of the parks themselves. I'm only intimately familiar with the Newton South Parks playgrounds, which is a confusing mix to us always about how that gets maintained. But I'm hoping that that your team is in fact doing more maintenance than we see. There's lots of fencing and gates around the fields at South that are not functioning properly. And I don't know, I'm only saying this right now as a matter of maintenance in all fields. I know as maintenance is always a problem, but as you create all these new parks, I think we in the city need to understand that there's going to be an increasing amount of maintenance that will need to be done. And I hope your budget reflects that you are on top of that and you're working on that. A second issue, as you know, I'm actually stunned to see that the electricity bill has gone down, given how often we are in communication with you and your staff about the lights being on the fields with no one playing. And we do hope, because it is so frequent, and I don't know what's happening on other fields where there are lights, but I know you're going to be putting up lots more lights in different fields, that the control of those lights is really important to the neighborhoods. When fields aren't being used and the lights are on, or for any reason, whether they've not been scheduled or people who don't show up, it is a concerning issue. And I hope, as I've spoken with you, that we can continue to work on a better system for making certain that those lights are turned out whenever it's possible. And I think you're going to confront that in other areas as you build more lights. Finally, at the moment, the most specific thing is, as you know, the road between Brown Oak Hill School and Newton South that hundreds of kids use daily. I've asked about this for several months now. And I don't know if you've been there recently, but it has been so disrupted. There's so many potholes. It is so wet, nowhere for that water to drain along this significant path that is used not just by students and teachers, but by community people. And it really needs to be fixed. The students now are up walking on the path along next to the baseball field because they can't possibly walk on the road. And we would really like to know when that's going to be fixed. I think you hear a lot from the schools about this as well. But that road is in extraordinary disrepair. And again, as part of maintenance, I don't know if it's you or if it's DPW or somebody, but that road really needs to get fixed. And I hope sooner than later. So general maintenance issues, continuing issue about lights on fields and possibly expanding that issue. And then this one very specific issue about roads. But mostly I thank you and your staff for all the work that you are doing. I think it's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Farrell, and happy to continue the conversations on those three items. I'm aware of all of those. And I would say on the fencing and the gates, I do think we're in a good place with our maintenance. We do have a lot of things to take care of. And I always tell city councilors or really anybody who reports things to us, the 311 program and or an email or reaching out to us, we really do appreciate when somebody sees something, if they report that to us. Sometimes it is just not, we wouldn't have somebody in every area every day. So sometimes our sport groups who see something on the fields or members of our school district, city councilors, other neighbors will report things to us. And we really do appreciate that help and those extra eyes on things.
Yeah, Commissioner, it's Jonathan. If I could just add on to that, one of the top priorities during the budget process for Parks and Rec was money for maintenance. And if you look in the expense item, page 5 of their budget, we added $175,000 to their real property maintenance line, because that's really that is really key for them to be able to bring in the fence contractors wherever. I live right next to Newton North. I've reported fence issues around North. I sort of walk around it a couple nights a week. So I'm similar to you. I report things through 311. And this is a priority. We've added money to this account as well. And also one thing, we're not adding lights anywhere. So just so you're aware, there's no new
Well,
lights
the Albemarle have new lights and what, just.
that we're replacing lights
Right.
and with a much better, more efficient lights. But just
When they're on and no one's playing, it becomes an issue. I hope it won't be, I'm just saying.
yeah, except some of the community members like having the lights too. So
Very few in my neighborhood.
All right,
in
we're
my-
gonna get back on track here because it's already 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, well,
Counselor Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have to add my kudos to Mark Welsh, because when I called about some limbs that people were concerned of, that dead limbs that had fallen, and that there were dead limbs waiting to fall, it seemed. And within a couple of months, those limbs were gone. So everybody was appreciative that used that park, and so I'm going to add my kudos to Mr. Welsh for all that responsiveness. And Ms. Banks, when you said all your teams are doing this and all your teams are doing that, you guys are small but mighty, because your teams are very small. You do a lot of work all over this city with a very small staff, really. So that's pretty amazing. A concern that I have is that I've heard from residents who are concerned about the rise in price for the swimming in Newton. And I don't, maybe they pay anyway, regardless of the price, because they need to use the service for themselves and their kids. But I can't let it go without saying that I've heard concerns about the rise in the prices. So I'll just let that go as it is.
Counselor Albright, can I just mention our scholarship program, just in case anybody is listening, for Newton residents? It is a financial based program, so we do have an application and check on that, but we do have the financial support for both programming and the aquatics memberships. And so if that's something if anybody is interested in, again, reach out to us. The ParksAt email is a good way to reach us, our main number, and we'll put you in touch if it's a camp or aquatics, the right person to talk to get that assistance. But yeah, I do recognize the price increase. With the new pool, it needed to happen, and it hadn't been reviewed and increasing over time. And so it was a bit of a reset for us and kind of being a little bit more comparative to the market pricing, as well as having a new facility for the pool.
Yeah, I know that we need these fees to be raised sometimes, but sometimes it's a hardship. Is it clear on the website that scholarships are available?
I can double check on the website, but yes, we have made sure all of our areas within the aquatics list that. So I will ask Sean to just go through and make sure our website and registration pages that's highlighted.
Okay, thanks. And in all your partnerships that you mentioned, when you showed the piano in one of your slides, it reminded me that we have so many private nonprofit partnerships in Newton, that we are so lucky to have them, between Community Pride and the piano. I'm not sure what the piano people are calling themselves now, but there's that whole piano thing.
Piano Pals. You got to have a great name for it.
What is it called? Piano Pals?
Piano Pals.
Yeah. And all the Native American group that comes in. I know your department partners with all of these people to do these things, but we're so lucky to have so many of these private nonprofit partnerships that work with us.
Absolutely. And so much technical expertise, Newton Conservators. I mean, the list goes on and on of those that we depend on.
Yep. And my final comment is that I was glad that Councilor Baker.
Counselor, I need
Yes.
to the other people who haven't had a chance to ask questions yet, and then I can come back to you.
Fine, thank you.
Counselor Mickley?
Thank you, Chair. A quick comment and question. First of all, Commissioner Banks, I reach out to you frequently and you respond thoroughly and quickly, so just want to appreciate all of that. Question on the playgrounds. Something I hear often from young families is a desire to make the playgrounds better across Newton, and you mentioned various funding opportunities. What could a various neighborhood group or organization do to push or raise more funds for area playgrounds?
So when a neighborhood group wants to get involved, I usually will put them in touch with our Parks and Open Space Division. They do oversee the relationships with all of our Friends programs. So it could be that a group wants to form a Friends group that can be, you know, informal or formal, and we can put them in touch with other Friends groups who've done it successfully. If you want to do a fundraising effort, that's probably a good direction to go. But even, you know, on an informal basis, working on a neighborhood fundraiser, we're working over at the Memorial Playground at Oak Hill Park right now. And there's a group of neighbors. They're not, you know, they're not a nonprofit association or anything. They're just getting together some fundraising to help add some more playground equipment to the park. So we have lots of interested friends groups and neighbors, and we're happy to walk them through that and also put them in touch with others who've done it successfully in the city, just to get the, you know, best practices and what works and what doesn't work.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll quickly go to Counselor Baker so we don't lose him, hopefully. Just unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to have to leave because of my travel arrangements here, but I do want to say I appreciate again the work that's been done by the others. And I'm not sure it's appropriate to include me in the vote, but if there's some way to do that for the budgets that have come before you in this one, even though I'm not here from the time of the formal vote, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, if the
all right, thank you, Counselor Malachy.
Okay, thank
report
you.
can reflect my support for each of them, would be great.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, God. All right, go ahead.
The Albemarle project, looking at that picture kind of brings home I've been wondering, where is the topsoil that was removed to go put in the artificial turf field? Where is the topsoil going? Are we selling it, saving it, stockpiling it for future use? And what happened to the sort of the sod part?
So the piles are remaining on site and they will be utilized for all the field work on site. I'm fairly certain that we're not having to remove any of the materials, but I can check in with Luis to see if that's correct, if you know, we're able to utilize all of it, but our goal is to use it.
So even the sod could be sort of reused as sod where you need it?
No, the grass sod would not be kept. So there must, you know, but all of the, if you saw the earth piles, it was all actually very rich earth, very, very dark in color, very good quality that was dug up out of there. So our intent is to keep it and utilize it on site for the project. But the grass turf was not able to be saved and reused.
I would basically go to with our yard waste, where our yard waste goes.
It would be the removal through the contractor. So yeah, they would remove it and dispose of it.
Okay, and another question I had, and I'm looking forward to the parks improvements list of projects and so forth. Two questions about related to Crescent Street. When you do the parks improvements, could that include exercising the option that Eversource had given us to provide, a pedestrian path from Auburn Street into the park? That's one question. And the other on the, the other side of the fence, the Parks and Recs facilities, the, I don't know what to call it, a warehouse garage shop. And the, I understand even the old Dutch colonial house is being used as a break room or something. I noticed in the capital improvement plan, sort of lots of, window work and roof work and lots of stuff going on. And it seems like we're still using it. So it was surplus a few years ago, but functionally, it seems like it's not really surplus and still well used. What would we do if we ever didn't have it for the uses it's now being used for?
Councillor Maliki, I think I would refer both of those questions to Commissioner Morse. I'd be happy to pass them along. I am familiar with the Crescent Street, park portion of the project, but I'm uncertain whether that Eversource, I don't know if it was an agreement that was put in place or if it was offered. But I think Commissioner Morse might have some more information, and also on the surplusing of the building. If I could pass those notes along to him.
Great, thank you very much, because I think that would be a big improvement for the neighborhood to have that a second access, given that the current access is only down the driveway, which is not ideal.
We can get back to you on that, Counselor. I think there were some issues with that. It was not a straightforward project.
No, we had to put in a fence.
Possibly more than that. But we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, Councillor Albright, I know you had some additional questions or one question. Just keep an eye on the time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not so much a question as Councillor Baker mentioned that you were looking for volunteers for Commonwealth Foundation, and my neighbor had, someone had approached him to become part of that, and he never heard back from them. So I'm going to tell him about it again, and he should apply on the website.
Yep, the application is on the website, or reach out, an email to me, Councillor Albright would be great. And I would love to get him in touch. The group has been really doing a lot of great work. And I think, having more volunteers will help spread that out and just get different backgrounds involved, because there's a diverse amount of things that group oversees with a golf course.
Okay, so I'll just put him in touch with you. Thank you.
Great.
All right, any other last questions or comments? No, okay, great. So again, the number this year proposed, $9,712,550. And if anyone wants to do a straw vote motion on that from Councillor Oliver, and I'm happy to count Councillor Baker in the tally as well, because he did express verbally before that he was in support, and it's only a straw vote anyway. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention from Councillor Farrell. And I think that's it from Parks and Rec. And Ms. Holden, is that it from everything else? Okay, fantastic. So thank you all for your time and your efficiency this evening. And I guess 9:14, we're out of here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
No.
Up